How to polish a watch. There are many methods out there and some are super simple, some are advanced. And my method here is simple to learn but very effective. Welcome to Caseback Watches. My name is Tim and in this episode it's all about polishing watches. And the main question is, of course, why should you polish a watch yourself? And I personally see three reasons for that. Some of us have more affordable pieces in their collection, and when you have a scratch on an affordable watch, I think it's not the best way to give it to a professional polisher, because he or she will charge a large amount of money and often that bill is higher than the value of your watch. And so I think it's a very wise strategy that you can help yourself with more affordable pieces. Reason number two, you have total control over the amount of polishing, because some of us are happy when this scratch is not entirely removed. It can be a bit visible, it's not a problem, but a professional polisher often thinks that the job is to erase everything, even if that means to grind away a millimeter or so from your watch case, and you will see that, and often it's just not necessary. And so doing that job yourself means you have total control over the amount of polishing, which is really a good thing in my opinion. Reason number three, it's fun. Let me repeat this. It's big fun to polish a watch because you have something ugly, beaten up, scratchy, and after you have applied some techniques with some skills, the thing is just handsome and beautiful again. And of course, this is big fun. And before we are going into the light box where we actually can polish a watch, let me speak briefly about some fundamentals so that you're well prepared. First, it's a good idea to practice with a broken watch, because we're not Leonardo da Vinci, we have to learn things, and applying a new technique on a brand new and expensive watch is a bit risky, okay? A bit risky, makes you nervous, and so always practice with 1, 2 or 3 broken watches. Fundamental number two, when you want to erase every microscopic sign of usage, then you have to disassemble the watch. If you're capable to do that, fine. If not, then you cannot renew a watch 100%, which is not a drama, to tell you the truth, because most of us, we want a handsome piece. We don't need a brand new watch. We want to wear the thing again, and so we want that the watch looks better, but it doesn't have to look perfect. Last fundamental, there's a big difference between grinding and polishing. Grinding means you take away large quantities of material. So when you have a scratch 1 millimeter deep, you actually take away 1 millimeter of the case and you will see that. So grinding means you reshape the watch. And this is complicated. This needs experience and practice. And so my advice here is stay away from grinding. At least in the beginning, you can practice it over again with old watches. Then finally you will be able to grind watch cases. But in the beginning, I would stay away from that and I would focus on polishing, which means you take away material on a microscopic level. So imagine a scratch, you have a surface and then you have a scratch in that surface. It doesn't mean that you take away large parts of the surface until you reach the bottom of the scratch. Polishing means that you round the edges or the ridge of the scratch, okay? So that the scratch is still there, but it's no longer visible, not entirely visible, because that ridge is rounded. That means polishing. Big difference. Grinding away material and flatten material in a nutshell. Okay, these were the fundamentals. Let's go into the light box now. Let's polish some watches. And little disclaimer, I didn't invent these techniques, of course. I don't want to credit for that, okay? I picked up knowledge here and there on YouTube and on forums. But now, let's do it. Okay, let's start with our tools, from rough to fine, because you could polish this entirely away only with a very fine polishing liquid, but it would take forever. So rougher tools will speed up the process, okay? This is the only reason why we use something with a rather rough grit. This is 240 grit sandpaper. Don't use it without a lot of practice, okay? So this is very, very hardcore treating a watch like that. The next tool, and this is a very important one, is a professional nail polishing pad, I would call this. And this has a grit of 4000 and 1000. So we have a rough side with 1000 and a fine side with 4000. And this is a very, very helpful tool. They're not very expensive. You can grab them on eBay or Amazon or elsewhere. So absolutely not a problem. So this is the next tool. And then we have the good old Cape Cod. Many of you guys will know this. It's basically a cloth with an abrasive material here in the fabric, I don't use it so often anymore because it's very messy. It's oily. The entire thing is very oily, and sometimes I'm under the impression that it could be a bit finer to the material. And so our next product or next tool is this one, and you can buy this in your local garage. Basically, it's for chrome and metal. There you go, metal polish. Is a bit smells a bit like gasoline, and is very, very effective. It's rather rough for a polishing lotion, so to speak, rather rough. So use it with care. And when you go to the last shine, then I have another specialized product. This is all metal polish, and this is very, very fine. So when you try to erase a scratch with this, then you need your hours. And so I would recommend this only for the last treatment, the last layer, and there it's very good, very effective. And what we also need is a toothbrush to just remove dirt and other substances. Just buy the cheapest thing you can buy. It's really not important. Brand is not important. And then we need cloth. These are ordinary, what you buy for your glasses or your watch. This, for example, is 470 Cormac. Very sorry, but I used this for polishing watches. This comes from Mr. Speck, so this is for glasses. And I use this also for these liquids. And now we must speak briefly about the two main surfaces you find on watches. Here you have this comes from my Loewe dive watch, Loewe Neptune. I disassembled the entire thing so that I can demonstrate a bit. And this watch is basically brushed. See that? This is, I zoom in a bit. There you see a fine brushing. You see a lot of scratches. And our job during this video will be to erase these scratches. I think here you can really see them very good. And the other important surface is, of course, high polished. For example, here, the old vintage Dugina of a friend of mine, and here on the side you see some high polished surfaces here, okay? And these are 99% surfaces is really here high polished and brushed, and sometimes you find radial brushings and sunburst, but this is too complicated for our little tutorial here, and so I will focus only on these two types, all right? Okay, let's start with the brushing because it's fun. It's easy and fun. Focus, please. Here you see a brushing, and a brushing means basically that you have a line of fine scratches all in one direction, and that's the vital part here. That's the important part to keep in mind when we use a 1000 grit nail polishing pad, I would call this. So you don't go like this. You don't go like this, or wobbly or out of line. What you want to do is to go in one direction, very precise. Otherwise you would create a very sloppy brushing. The good news is you need only a few strokes. Again, let's see this. Looks very, very rough, very beaten up. And now, I mean, this is a bit hard for me to do in front of the camera, but I will treat one side now. And there you go. And you can see, I think, very good, very clear, the difference between these surfaces here. One side is still covered with scratches, and this is already almost done. And now I could use it for the second half. Again, I could make myself a little rig here with my fingers. This is much easier without a camera in front of you, I can tell you this. But I think you can see the effect. And without camera, I should try to go into this curve here. This is really hard to do, but I will try it. Don't mess up the direction of the strokes. And there you go. See? There are some tiny little scratches still there, and for me that's okay, but if you want to erase everything, then you have to give it 20 more strokes, and then you have the perfect brushing. And this technique you can also use for bracelets. Here you have a segment of the Loewe bracelet, and you see that this thing here is covered with scratches. Not super big ones, but there you see all these fine scratches which really can ruin the appearance of the brushing here. See there? There it's very good visible. And now you take your file, your nail polishing thing, with the rough side again, and now you go over the entire bracelet, and again you try to maintain the direction as perfect as you can. Other side. And there you go. There is the scratch left, so I could erase everything. I could really renew this bracelet, but I don't want it because these fine scratches you have after a couple of days. And sometimes you have other watches, for example, with a more complex bracelet. Here you have a Tudor prints, and there you see a lot of scratches here in the high polished center, because here you have a mixture of brushing and high polished surfaces. And you could ask now, is this possible to renew, to polish? Answer is of course yes. What you need here is masking tape, very inexpensive, and then you cover the brushed parts with a masking tape, very precise, okay? You cover everything that is brushed, and then you polish first the high polished center links here. When you're done with that, you remove the masking tape, and then you can brush only these parts here, and that's the method for more complex bracelets. Now we have our Dugina watch. I will let the strap there because it's now easier for me to handle in front of the camera. When you do this at home, you should remove the strap. All right, now you have here scratches on the side. See this? Scratches on the side, and here you cannot use that brushing thing. I mean, you could start with a file, with a 1000 file, to erase everything here that is scratchy, but then you have a brushing and then you have to remove the brushing, and so this is a bit counterintuitive. Now you could use Cape Cod, but I want to use something else to demonstrate this. Use a bit of cardboard, and now our polishing stuff here is pretty messy, I can tell you, but it's not oily. And now you take a bit here. This is very hard to do in front of the camera, but I will try it, And there is our watch now. This is the surface, and now you just start to apply it. This takes time. This definitely will take some time. But you see here that it's black. And this is the sign that it takes away material. And now let's use our other cloth. Let's see the result from these few strokes. And there is still something on it. See that? But it's better. It's already better. And you see that this stuff here also leaves some brush marks. See there? Some brush marks. And so what we will do, we will give it another run. There you go with this stuff. Okay, let's check it. It's a bit messy. It's still a bit messy, I'm very sorry. Normally, again, do this without the strap. But here it's very handy for me, and you see it's much better. And the goal here is not to erase everything again, not faking NOS. And you see now that this liquid, this stuff here, has erased some scratches, but it has left, it's hard to see, but there are some very fine lines in one direction, so signs of polishing. And now it's time for our other stuff here, which unfortunately is very expensive, but you only need a tiny bit of it. I think it's a tiny bottle for 20 bucks or something like that. And now, same thing. We will use it for the watch with the same technique to erase everything, every sign from the last polishing run. And there you go. There are some tiny little dings and dangs and little micro swirls left. That's okay. Here's the other side. There you see the condition before polishing. See that? Drastic difference in quality now, and that's exactly what we wanted to achieve here. And I think this is a very fine result when you don't need to erase everything. When you want to erase everything again, then you need something rough for this to really take away some material until you don't see any form of scratches anymore, and then you have to remove the sign of your rough polishing material. That's the way, all right? For this watch, not necessary, but that's the method. And now you can take your toothbrush and clean it all up. Important, very important, very important. And also very important is to clean these bracelets after you've polished them, because there is now abrasive material all over the thing and inside, and that's worse. That will create stretch. And so my recommendation is now to clean it with a soft soap and water, or better, you buy yourself, if you do this regularly, you buy yourself a very inexpensive ultrasonic bath from eBay, for example. They go for something between 40 and 80 bucks, because you only need a small thing, and then you are on the safe side with the cleaning. But this is very important. After a polishing job, you should clean the watch head, of course, but also more important, you should always clean the bracelet very thoroughly to prevent stretch. Alright, welcome back. I hope you found this informative and helpful. And to make things easier, I have a list in the description where you find the tools or link to these tools. And they are not affiliated links. This is not a commercial. This is just sharing knowledge with you. Okay, and that's all for this episode. Please visit caseback.watches.com, the online shop that keeps everything here afloat, that makes it possible that I share content for free, that I don't have to do it with brand deals and such stuff. And so caseback.watches.com for fine leather products made in Germany. And that's all for this episode. As always, thank you very much for your attention, and until next time.